You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Reports, episode 130.1, our boys basketball tournament preview special for every varsity basketball program in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and northern Hamilton counties playing in holiday tournaments this weekend. With a Grant 4 preview with the Action Sports Network's Grant Shouse and interviews with Mississinewa head coach Josh Brooks, Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger, Muncie Central head coach Justin Ollum, Blackford head coach Aaron Daniels, Western head coach Cam Bennington, Tri-Central head coach Cam Hindman, and Hamilton Heights head coach Chad Ballenger, with game picks with Michelle Garmon.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengel.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you for being with us. Today is December 27, 2024. It's a Friday, so it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report. I'm your host, Greg Mengel, and I love Central Indiana sports. Today, I am coming to you from headquarters in Jeffersonville. Producer Susie is sound asleep. Today, we're going to look at all of this weekend's holiday tournaments from around Central Indiana. We have a full preview of the Grant 4 tournament with the Action Sports Network's Grant Shouse. We'll tell you about all the game times. We'll tell you about each of the teams, the top players to watch at each location, and what to expect from each tournament. We'll also have a girls basketball tournament preview. It'll be a lot shorter since there are a lot fewer local girls teams in holiday tournaments. And the Grant 4 is next weekend for the girls. We'll have a full preview on that one next week. It's a lot of the same coaches from our week in review shows, because two birds with one stone and all that. Except we will hear from Western head coach Cam Bennington, whose Panthers are at Lebanon. We will look at tournaments at Oak Hill, Kokomo, Delta, Sheridan, Shenandoah, Lebanon, East Noble, Greenwood, Morristown, Edinburgh, and Switzerland County. And after all of those, Michelle Garmon and I will be making our game picks for Friday, including a couple of boring old regular games between Frankton and Wapahani. Come on, yawn. And Taylor and Eastern. A couple of really good games against some familiar foes. And let's get right to it, since it's going to be a long podcast. We start with the Grant 4 at Oak Hill, and here is the Action Sports Network's Grant Shouse with a preview. Grant Shouse of the Action Sports Network is here with me to talk about. I, I don't like to prioritize a lot of things here. We love all of our teams equal, Grant, but this has to be our biggest tournament of the weekend. 4 CIC teams, 4 Grant County teams, and it's a tournament that has a lot of tradition and is often a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's a tournament that has always been it's just been so weird, like just with the way things have occurred. And doing the research of it, earlier this week, I did it Monday night. A lot of it was seeing a lot of trends that you haven't, as someone who's been involved in it, had been a part of teams that have played in it, has announced it, those kind of things. um you never really pick up on the trends until you actually historically look back at the tournament. And like I told you last week after the Oak Hill Frankton game, Coach Renbarger told us that in 20 years of him being the head coach there, Oak Hill's never won a Grant 4 at home. Well, the thing is that's the case for a lot of teams.
Right.
Only 3 times since the year 2000 has the coach of the Grant 4, or has the host of the Grant 4 rather, won it at home.
Wow.
Oak Hill won it at home in 2000 under Coach Flavis Sirk. Eastbrook won it in 2013 under Coach Brian Childs. And in 2018, Mississinewa won it at home under head coach James Reed. And none of those coaches are with those teams anymore. It's a whole fresh new thing. But historically, it's been a fun tournament. There's been some great games that stand out to you. It exposes a lot of teams because it's usually after the holiday. There's been some years it's been a day or two before Christmas Eve. Like it's been on the 22nd, it's been on the 23rd a couple times, just with the way the calendar works. But traditionally, it's been more around after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year since the year 2000. And I when I did the research, I only went back to 2000. I didn't go any farther just because it cuts off on John Harrell at 1994, and I don't want to leave anything out. So I went back to the year 2000, but like I said, it exposes a lot of teams because teams are coming off that holiday where they, Christmas takes a day away to prepare for it, I think. And, it being after Christmas sometimes I think can kind of lead to, I wouldn't say it's a distraction, but I would say it can kind of take away your preparation and working with your kids.
Plus, it's a morning game. Which,
Of
speaking of which, I
course,
need to go over the schedule here real fast. But it's a morning game, and that's probably the only one that you're going to have all year. That's the other thing. All right,
one of them, yeah.
it starts with this of course is Saturday, 10 a.m. Mississinewa versus Madison Grant. Mississinewa just beat Madison Grant by 23 points, and Oak Hill's at home against Eastbrook. Uh, of course, Oak Hill is the huge favorite to win, not huge favorite, but a significant favorite to win this at home. But like you
hmm
said, it looks like Mississinewa Oak Hill for the championship. Oak Hill should win, but like you said, it just doesn't go that way.
But and that's the thing, is that I'm not necessarily sure that Oak Hill could be the clear cut favorite, due to the fact that if Mississinewa's favored against Madison Grant and Oak Hill's favored against Eastbrook, and they play, I'm saying hypothetically, I'm not saying
Right.
that's what's going to happen,
Right.
but hypothetically, if those two teams are going to play each other, you have to think back to earlier this month when they played each other at only a 2-point game.
Right.
And it was at Mississinewa, and Oak Hill barely beat them. Oak Hill played terribly. And Mississinewa played terribly too. Both teams did not play well. But I think, that may be a little different. That could be the championship, and it could be the complete opposite. It could be, Eastbrook and Madison Grant. Eastbrook has some guys that are capable, but
Sure.
I think, Madison Grant, they're well coached, and I think they're going to, they're going to, and so's Mississinewa, so's all four teams, but Madison Grant's well coached enough where I think they have a good opportunity to rewrite the wrong of them losing to Mississinewa just a week or two ago. And, and that's kind of the good thing for Madison Grant, is because they play Mississinewa and then they get to really turn around again and play them a week later. And, so the scouting report is still a little fresh. Players still kind of have the taste in their mouth from that game. And I think that's why that first game is going to be interesting. Look, there's no like clear cut favorite on who's going to win it, like there has been in years. Like there's no team that really kind of just stands above all of them. I think both teams, I think this is as wide open as it's been in a long time.
Sure. In my conversation with Mississinewa head coach Josh Brooks earlier this week, I said, I've been watching basketball now for about 50 years. And one thing that everybody who's been watching basketball for 50 years knows, that when teams play each other in back-to-back games, it never goes the same way twice.
Never. And it's sure as heck more hard to beat a team 3 times.
Yeah.
So, and some of these teams may see each other, again down the road come tournament time, but I'm not, 100% sure. I think the only one would be Madison Grant and Eastbrook. But anyways, yeah, you're right. You historically look at that when a team has to play each other back-to-back times, it can go different, because I can think of years where, being at Oak Hill, and Kevin Renbarger would tell you, there was a year, it was the 2019 Grant 4. It was the morning game at Madison. It was the day game at Madison Grant. And Madison Grant beat Oak Hill in a close game at Madison Grant. And, it left a bitter taste in Oak Hill's mouth because, the two losers of the first game, it always stinks because nobody wants to play in that consolation game. They just don't. There's teams, coaches, I'm not sure really see the point in playing. Yeah, it's another game. It's an opportunity to get a win, but it doesn't mean anything. You know what I mean?
It
But
means you get to
anyways,
play another game against a rival. You should probably
that
want to
is
win that
true.
game.
That is true. And sometimes that consolation game doesn't have a whole lot of energy.
Oh, I know.
Kind of, and it's a tough game. Sometimes those games can actually end up being really good games.
Yes, especially
They're low scoring kind of game, which is the games I like. They're low scoring games, but still they could take away some of the energy. And Oak Hill losing that game in 2019 to Madison Grant at Madison Grant, they come back that night, beat Eastbrook. I think they beat them by like 30 in the consolation game. The following month, later in January, Madison Grant and Oak Hill matched up again at Madison Grant, and Madison Grant won that Grant 4 game by 5. Oak Hill beat them in the regular season by 30.
Wow.
At Madison Grant. So I know it's a month difference, and it was a long month, but things can change just like that. It's a rivalry game. Kids know each other in this area. It's not. It's not like these other kids on other teams don't know each other. Like Jace Tonigal and Jaden Younts. Tonigal from Oak Hill and Younts from Eastbrook. They know each other. They're really good friends, and they're going to match up with each other. I'm just using that as an example, but I just think, like I said, it's as wide open as it's been in a long, long time.
And what are some of the other things you looked at when you were doing that you learned when you were doing your research on the tournament? And by the way, Grant will have the call of the Grant 4 tournament on the Action Sports Network. How can people find that, Grant?
Yeah, go on. You can go on to your search engine, whatever you use, Google, Yahoo, those kind of things, whatever it is. Search up actionsportsnetwork.live. Again, actionsportsnetwork.live. Click on there. Will be a button that says listen live. When you click on that, it'll take you to a page. You scroll down on it. Scroll down to where it'll be highlighted in red. And when you scroll down, it'll be highlighted on red. You can click on that. We're going to have 6 games. We're not just going to have the 4 varsity games. We're going to have the consolation JV game at 8:30 in the morning. I'll be sipping on some caffeine.
I bet.
And then we're going to have the JV championship at 2:30, which is at 2:30 in the afternoon, which is actually the Action Sports Network will be the only place you can hear where you can hear all 6.
Wow.
The other people covering the game are only going to cover 4. We're going to cover all 6. So if you want to hear all 6, you want to tune in and out throughout the day, actionsportsnetwork.live. Once you get there, click on listen live. Scroll down, it'll be highlighted in red. Click on that. Should be good to go. Andy McCord, my boss, guy who signs my paycheck, he'll be on the play-by-play. Chance Young, former Mississinewa coach, won the Grant 4 himself 4 times as the coach at Mississinewa. He'll be the color commentator, and I'll be down on the sidelines with a sideline mic. This is where they'll have me. We'll interview coaches live at halftime. The winning coach, as they're going into the locker room at half, will get the team that's down at halftime coming out of the locker room. You'll hear interviews live from all coaches, every single one. And doing that sideline, I could tell you some stories, but we ain't got time for that. But anyways,
yeah, you guys do a fantastic job, by the way.
Thank you. And
that's why I wanted you to be part of the Central Indiana Sports Report.
Right, and that's what we're striving to do. We're trying to make it a positive listening experience, and you can hear it clear. It's clear cut. It's audio only. You're not be able to see anything, as far as I know. But going back to your question of looking at some of the research that I've done, that I did, coaches or current Grant 4 coaches with Grant 4 titles. Kevin Renbarger at Oak Hill, he's won the Grant 4 8 times: 2007, 2010, 2011, 2014, 15, 17, 2021, and 2022.
So I'm guessing that he's won at Eastbrook, Mississinewa, and Madison Grant because he's never won any at home.
Of course. 100%. Josh Brooks at Mississinewa has one Grant 4 championship under his belt. That was a year ago in 2023. Jeff Liddick has won the Grant 4 7 times,
Yes,
but
he
with
has.
the Eastbrook girls program.
Right.
He's won it. He won the Grant 4 in 2012, 2014, 2015, and then he actually had a 4-peat from 2020 to 2023. In 2020,
Wow.
21, 22, and 23, he won 4 in a row. And
That's
Josh
a pretty good group
Hendrickson,
of girls, wasn't it?
oh yeah, and they were a great team. They were fun to call, and Jeff Liddick's a phenomenal coach, and he's great to work with. Love talking to that guy. But Josh Hendrickson with Madison Grant, only there. I think this is his 3rd or 4th season. He has yet to win a Grant 4 championship. And speaking of Madison Grant and winning Grant 4 championships, they're in a drought. They have not won a Grant 4 title since 2006.
Wow.
Eastbrook has not won the Grant 4 championship since 2013. Eastbrook has only won the Grant 4 championship one time in this century, and it was in 2013. Other than other than Eastbrook winning the Grant 4 in 2013, the Grant 4 championship has been dominated since 2007 by Oak Hill and Mississinewa, with the exception of that 2013 championship with Eastbrook. Over the last 10 years, Oak Hill has won it 5 times. Mississinewa has won it 5 times. Mississinewa is I believe, I have to look at it. It's on my computer. I got pulled up right here. But Mississinewa is the only team, I believe, I think maybe ever to have won the Grant 4 3 years in a row. They won it in 2018, 19, and 2020. You look at titles by coaches in the Grant 4 since the year 2000. Flavis Circuit, Oak Hill won it once in 2000. Actually was the last coach to win it at home at Oak Hill. Chris Smedley, the former coach at Madison Grant, won it 4 times in 2001, 2002, 2004, and 2006. Chance Young, who, like I said, will be on the call with us Saturday for the Grant 4, has won the championship 4 times himself in 2003, 2015, 2008, and 2009. Kevin Renbarger, 7 Grant 4 titles, just mentioned it a moment ago. Mark McFarland, the former coach at Mississinewa, won it 1 time in 2012. Brian Childs, the former coach at Eastbrook, won it once in 2013. Andrew Everts at Mississinewa won it 1 time in 2016. They upset Oak Hill, had me in tears after the game in 2016 at Oak Hill. They beat Oak Hill. He won it 1 time. That was that year. James Reed at Mississinewa, former coach, won it 3 years in a row from 2018 to 2020. And Josh Brooks, currently at Mississinewa, has won it 1 time, and it was a year ago in 2023. So
no one would be surprised if he won it this year.
Nobody would. I don't think anybody would be surprised if, Josh Hendrickson and Madison Grant won it for the first time since 2006. I don't think anyone would really be surprised as well if Oak Hill won it at home, or if Eastbrook kind of came through the path and won it themselves. Eastbrook last year with Coach Greg Allison, with essentially the same Eastbrook team, took Mississinewa down to the final buzzer. They had a great look, a top of the key 3 by then freshman Jaden Younts to win the morning game of the Grant 4 and go to the championship, and he just missed it on what was a great look. There's been so many good games throughout the years, and the one folklore that I've heard about, because I wasn't alive, was in 1990. It was the 1996-1997 season. Oak Hill was coached by Brian Alexander, Madison Grant was coached by Terry Martin. They squared off at the Grant 4, and Oak Hill had Jared Odell, who went on, played 4 years at Indiana University, played in a national championship game, started in a national championship game for Mike Davis at Indiana in 2002 against Maryland. Madison Grant had Kyle Runyon, who is the all-time leading scorer at Madison Grant, was a great player, an Indiana All-Star. He and Odell, Runyon and Odell, squared off in that game at Oak Hill. And I think Odell went for 50 and Runyon went for 48, and Madison Grant won the game 99-83.
Wow.
And just that's one of the big folklores people talk about, and just how that was such a good game with both players, all-star caliber players going back and forth. That one is just, it's always talked about. It's always going to be talked about. But, those are just some of the games the Grant 4 can produce, and it can produce some upsets as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see 1 or 2 this weekend.
Grant, you weren't alive for that one. I remember Kyle Runyon as a baby. So you and our age is a little different. So
there must be a big gap there. I must seem.
So, yes. By the way, Terry Martin won that a few times. I was there for a couple of them, covering it for the Elwood Call Leader back in the day. I bet we can go back and find even deeper history than that, and that'll be something fun that I'll do when I take July off from the Central Indiana Sports Report.
Yeah, it's those kind of things. Doing the research. I mean, you always thinking about them in years past, but when you actually go and dissect it, and I was sitting there the other night, and I'm like, man, Oak Hill and Mississinewa, I guess I never realized, have absolutely dominated this thing throughout the years. And then, it's so weird because the last time it was at Oak Hill, the morning of the Grant 4, Mississinewa was going to play Eastbrook. This is in 2020, the weird COVID year. Eastbrook was set to play Mississinewa. Oak Hill was supposed to play Madison Grant in the second game. The morning of, Eastbrook calls and says they have to drop out due to COVID. So it went from the Grant 4 that day to the Grant 3.
Wow.
And Madison Grant beat Oak Hill like a drum in the day game, and went on and played a great game against Mississinewa in the championship, but just fell a little short. And, those games stick out to you because there's so many just weird things that can happen. It just, the stat to me is so unbelievable. The fact that there's only been 3 host teams that have won the Grant 4 at home since the year 2000.
Crazy.
That I think is the wildest stat.
Yeah, if it was anything, you would expect it to be only lost 3 at home rather than only won 3 at home.
Exactly. You would think that the home team would dominate. And,
yes.
Especially a program like Oak Hill, of course, with them winning a state championship and them kind of being the premier, I would say, basketball program in the county in the mid 2010s. When they had a team that went to the state championship and was winning sectional championships, they never even won a Grant 4 at home. They just never did. And they got, like I said, the game I was in tears in 2016 when Mississinewa came in and upset Oak Hill in the morning game of that Grant 4. That was to I think a 12-year-old Grant Shouse. That was a little heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
So, Saturday's going to be, it's one of the best days of the year. From a media perspective, it's so fun because you get to see things, so many fun things happen. Like 2 years ago, our inaugural year with the Action Sports Network, I was on the sideline mic for the Grant 4 at Mississinewa, and Oak Hill Madison Grant battling it out. The game actually went to overtime, and Oak Hill ended up winning it. At halftime, I got Coach Renbarger out of the locker room, and we went live. Andy sent it over to me. I said, Coach Renbarger, your thoughts on the first half? And he looked at me, and the only thing he said was, nothing I can say on the air, Grant. And I've known him long enough where, A, I know when he's mad, and B, I was so stunned by the answer, I didn't know what else to say. I just said, Back to you, Andy. So we've always run into some good ones.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Grant. Can't wait to take in the Grant 4 once again. It's been since Terry Martin was coaching since I've seen one, so I am looking forward to that. As I mentioned a little bit there with Grant, Mississinewa is 2-4. Their last 3 losses have been by a combined 13 points. Madison Grant is 3-3. They started 3-0. Those teams play at 10 a.m. Mississinewa is the defending champion and beat Madison Grant 54-31 last week. I spoke with Mississinewa head coach Josh Brooks. He said he doesn't mean that his team is taking the Argyles lightly.
Obviously, 10 o'clock in the morning is not always the most ideal time for high school boys to be awake and moving and functioning at a high level. And that, this summer was a bugaboo of ours. So that obviously is a little bit of a concern for myself. I've obviously talked those things to our guys, and I do think they'll respond accordingly. But, that's always in the back of my mind. And then, I do think that Coach Hendrickson does a really good job with that Madison Grant team, and I think they'll even be a different team when we play them on Saturday than what we saw on Friday. And, obviously that complacency piece for the team could happen to us, and I think we got to be motivated and ready going into that game. So I hope our guys don't take it lightly. The Grant 4 is a different atmosphere. It's a different type of day. It's a different game than even what we saw on Friday. So they got some pieces that, are very good. The Almeida kid struggled a little bit against us, but he's a guy that, is very, very good and can get going very quickly. And so, he's always going to be a factor. And then they got a couple other guys that I do feel like could get going from 3 as well. So, I don't think we want to take them lightly. I am not taking them lightly. And that's kind of the talk that we've had and we'll continue to have later this week with practice. But we definitely need to be ready and on our P's and Q's going into that 10 o'clock matchup.
Coach, I've been a basketball fan for more than 40 years. It's been my favorite sport to watch my whole life. And rarely, it happens sometimes, but when a team plays another team close, a week or two apart, rarely is it the same game. It's almost always completely different.
For sure. And we definitely have talked that. And, I would not be shocked if Coach Hendrickson kind of played a few of his cards close to the vest on Friday. And, we see some different wrinkles from them than we even saw on this most recent game. I do know that he, presses some and he'll zone and trap some in the half court. And we didn't really see any of that on Friday. So, obviously we're preparing to, see some of those things probably on Saturday. So again, like you said, I doubt it will be a similar or same game on Saturday. And, we have a couple different wrinkles and things that we feel like we can go to if we need to as well. But definitely know and understand that, this deal on Saturday will be a very, very different thing.
As you approach your second Grant 4 tournament, what's the attitude toward this tournament? How big of a deal is it to your program?
I mean, I think it's a big deal. There's a lot of tradition there. This has been going on for, I don't know, since I can remember. Obviously, it was special when I played in it back in the day at Eastbrook. And, there still continues to be a lot of county pride, in this tournament. So, I don't know if I'd put it up there as high as conference, but obviously it's, a goal that's, a thing that we have, year in and year out that we want to be, the Grant 4 champions. We want to be able to be a mainstay there in the championship game and, bring home that hardware as often as possible. So, it's definitely at the forefront and something that, we work towards and kind of a checkpoint for us, that we look at and kind of see where we're at. And so if we can, continue to, position ourselves in a way that we can be in the championship game and, fight for a championship there. It's a nice boost there, kind of beginning of the middle, I guess, of the season. And, something that I do feel like can propel you forward, towards the end of the season.
And obviously, Oak Hill goes into the tournament as the favorites. They beat you earlier in the year. But talking to Coach Renbarger earlier today, he said it's amazing how often the Grant Four tournament doesn't go how you expect it to go.
Yeah, and I remember last year somebody talking, because obviously we were not in the discussion last year, and Madison Grant had a great season the year before, and the talk was a lot about Oak Hill and Madison Grant, and we were able to go in there and kind of play spoiler to the whole deal. So, um, you know, to that point exactly, that it rarely goes the way you feel it. And I know that in game one we almost got beat by Eastbrook on a last second shot, so, and they hadn't had many wins to that point, and they scratched and clawed and made it a game, and had a great shot at the end to win it. And we were also talking about it's been, I don't know, multiple years. I couldn't tell you how many since a home team has won the Grant Four. So,
Yeah.
It's just a funny thing. And, it is just a very different day, a very different atmosphere, a very different attitude. So it's definitely something, we look forward to. I think it's a neat deal. Our JV team made it to the championship game. So we're going to be at Oak Hill for a long time. Play at 10, going to hang out and watch the second game. And then our JV team plays in the championship game after that. So, a very different day. Going to have to figure out as a coach how to handle those types of things to make sure that our guys are ready for hopefully the championship game on Saturday night.
Do you look forward to the all-day thing, or do you dread it a little bit?
I think it's a neat deal. It's hard to beat a day of basketball.
That's right.
I really enjoy our team and our guys. I know that maybe I'll get old and at some point, or have a team that I don't like being around, but the idea of being able to be around our guys and get to know them better and interact with them is something that, I'll cherish probably for a very long time. So, it is not a thing for me that I dread or, worry about. My big thing will be is making sure my guys get what they need so that they can be fresh and be ready to play, whether it be in the consolation or the championship game.
In the second game of the Grant Four, at approximately 11:45 a.m., 2-4 Eastbrook takes on 5-2 Oak Hill. Eastbrook has lost its last two games, both against CIC teams on the road, including overtime at Alexandria in their most recent game. Oak Hill is 5-2 and has won 3 straight. And I spoke with Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger earlier this week. I asked him how important the Grant Four tournament is to his program.
I think you have every team every year has three goals. One is to win or compete for the conference. One is to win or compete for a sectional. And then the other one in the county is to win the Grant Four. It's right up there with the things that you want to try to get accomplished during the season. And being those cross-county rivals, the kids really get up for the game. And it's just a really neat atmosphere, a one-day tournament. But again, it's something that's circled on the calendar every year.
Yeah, and you go into it, I think, I wouldn't say clearly the favorites, but everyone would acknowledge that you're the favorites. But you've had years in the past where you felt like you were the favorites, and it just hasn't gone that way. For some reason, this tournament just has a lot of upsets in it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with that like I said, that cross-county rivalry and familiarity. Any team coming in there feels like they should have a chance to win it. We have, been on both ends before where we've not really been a favorite and won it. And then there've been at least 2 or 3 times, and those times happen to be at Oak Hill. It seems like every time where we're the prohibitive favorite and we don't even make it to the championship game, or there was a year we got to the championship game and just absolutely got obliterated. So, we pointed this out. I've been head coach for 20 years, and we've been fortunate to have a lot of success and accomplished a lot of goals and a lot of things. But the one thing that we have not accomplished in 20 years is to win the Grant Four at Oak Hill. And so that's, it's something that we have circled this year. Obviously, you always want your seniors to go out with an opportunity to win the Grant Four on their home floor.
And Eastbrook will come in at 2-4. That's probably a little deceiving. They're a young team that's been really good at times.
Yeah, I think all the records are deceiving, to be honest with you. You know, Mississinewa's played a very tough schedule, and I think probably everybody in the county would have, you know, at least the record that they do on their schedule. Madison Grant's still trying to find their way a little bit, and Eastbrook's definitely, you know, that schedule is deceiving. And I think probably our schedule is deceiving. I'm not sure that at this moment I feel like we're as good as our record may indicate. And so Eastbrook poses a tremendous challenge from the standpoint that they are playing very, very good man defense, very sticky man defense, very Frankton-esque type man defense. And that's something we're going to have to talk to our kids about today. But then also, the thing that is really concerning is that they have a handful of kids, not just one or two, but a handful that could catch fire from the three-point line.
Yeah.
It takes one game, one time to, you know, kind of change all of their, you know, their situations with outside shooting. And so we're going to have to make sure to kind of take that away. But then also they have kids who can get to the rim as well, and Collins and Howell. So they pose a threat on both ends of the floor. Really, the only thing Eastbrook is missing is a signature win, in my opinion. They're a good basketball team. They're well coached. The entire program, to change the culture, that program just needs a signature win. And we're hoping, obviously, that, you know, 12 o'clock on Saturday is not that time. But,
Yeah.
you know, once they get it, I think they're really going to take off.
Plus, they have a new coach who knows what he's doing.
He does. He's got a lot of success on the girls' side. As I said, Coach Allison did a wonderful job as well. But they are playing a man defense now that's very sticky. You know, and he brings with him that culture of winning. And so, you know, I've been there before as well. When you have a program that's searching for, you know, consistent, stable success, that's probably the hardest thing to get turned around. But once you get it turned around, then it kind of is like a snowball going downhill. So, you know, like I said, I hope that it's not Saturday at noon that they find that success, but I really, really do believe that once this team does get a couple of signature wins, they're going to be on their way.
The Grant 4 consolation game is at 6:30 Saturday. The championship is at 8:15 on Saturday. Some players to watch: Oak Hill sophomore Jace Tonigal is averaging 22 points, 5 rebounds, 4.3 assists, and 3 steals per game, shooting 58% from the three-point line. And Oak Hill junior RJ Sugar is averaging 13.7 points per game. Mississinewa freshman Ravion Fetz is averaging 14.8 points, 3 rebounds, and shooting 48% from behind the three-point line. Mississinewa senior Keontae Woods is averaging 10 points, 6.2 rebounds, and is shooting 63% from the field. Eastbrook sophomore Jaden Younts, who's going to be a good one, 12.7 points, 4 rebounds, 2.8 assists, 1.7 steals, and is shooting 44% from the three-point line. And Eastbrook junior Bodie Howes averaging 8.8 points, 4.2 rebounds, 2.4 assists, and 2 steals. Seniors Lucas Gilman and Ike Almeida are the go-to players for Madison Grant. What should you expect from the Grant 4 tournament, you ask? Mississinewa and Oak Hill in a great championship game if things go according to plan. But as Grant Shouse just said, the Grant 4 rarely goes according to plan. Holiday tournaments in general are always a little weird. To the Kokomo Phil Cox Memorial Tournament on Friday. First round, Kokomo is 5-2 after going 0-2 last weekend. New Haven is 4-3 and has won 3 in a row, including a big win over Homestead. They play at 11 o'clock to start the tournament on Friday morning. Merrillville and Hanover Central will play in the second quarterfinal game. Merrillville is 2-4. Hanover Central is 3-2. 4-1 Portage will meet 4-2 Plainfield in the third quarterfinal. Plainfield's only loss was to 2A number 3 Lures. Plainfield is coached by longtime Western head coach Andy Weaver. It's his 12th season in Plainfield. That game is at 2:30. And the final quarterfinal at 4:15, 2-3 Warren Central, the 2018 state champions, play Greensburg, which is 3-3. They're the 2013 and 14 3A state championships. Greensburg plays 8 of its first 10 games away from home. The second round, the losing teams will play on Friday evening at 6 and 7:45. Friday's winning teams will play on Saturday morning. Kokomo or New Haven, probably Kokomo versus Merrillville or Hanover Central, which should be a good one at 11 a.m. Saturday morning. Portage versus Plainfield. Portage or Plainfield, whoever wins that, versus Warren Central or Greensburg. That game will be played at 12:45. The final round will be played all on Saturday. The 7th place game at 2:30, 5th place at 4:15, consolation at 6, and the championship game at 7:45. Some players to watch. Kokomo actually has about 5, but I picked 3 of them. Senior Zion Bellamy's averaging 22.4 points and had a 43-point game on Friday. He's also averaging 3.6 assists, 2.4 rebounds, 2 steals, shooting 39% from the three-point line and 87% at the free throw line. Kokomo junior Corbin Hamill's averaging 14.9 points, 4.6 assists, and 4.1 rebounds. And Kokomo freshman DJ Nash is going to be special. He's averaging 11 points, 8.9 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.1 steals, and shooting 67% from the field. Plainfield has a couple of guys to watch. Senior Noah Smith is averaging 14.8 points, 6.7 rebounds, and a block and a half a game while shooting 53% from the field. Plainfield sophomore Harper Baker Lands is averaging 16.2 points, 5.3 steals per game. And for Greensburg, senior Jack McKinney is averaging 16.3 points and 3.8 rebounds. And Merrillville freshman Charles Hardiman is going to be a good one. 16.5 points, 3.3 rebounds, just a few games into his high school career. What should you expect from the tournament at Kokomo? Well, one thing's for sure. Kokomo is the favorite. If they lose a game, it is an upset. Warren Central and Portage should also be considered contenders. To the Delta Holiday Tournament, it is a 8-team, 2-day, 3-game tournament. It starts with 0-6 Belmont versus 2-4 Cecina. Belmont actually went 20-5 last year. They're 0-6 now. Cecina has lost 3 straight games and is the alma mater of Madison Grant baseball head coach John Walters. Belmont versus Cecina is at 9 a.m. at Delta. That is followed by Delta versus Fort Wayne South. Both teams are 6-1. Delta's won 5 games in a row. South started the season 6-0, their best start since 1999 under Greg Taylor, who I student taught under. That game is at 10:30 a.m., followed by a noon start for 1-5 Muncie Central versus 5-1 Columbia City, which has won 4 straight games. Columbia City will be one of the favorites in this tournament. Then at 1:30 p.m., the final quarterfinal, Class 2A number 5 Providence is 4-0. They're 4-0 for the first time since 2022 when they won the Class 2A state championship, coached by former Providence star Ryan Miller, who led them to that state championship. They take on 2-4 Concordia. The Cadets are 2-4. The second round will be played at 3:30 and 5. No matter which teams win, the winners will play each other, the losers will play each other. And then Saturday, the final game, the 7th place game will be played at 2, the 5th place game at 4, the consolation game at 6, and the championship is at 8. Some players to watch at Delta starts with Delta senior Jordan Fernie, who's averaging 14.2 points, 4 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and 1.6 steals. And Muncie Central freshman Jackson Johnson, he's a good one, 10.3 points per game early in his freshman year. Southside 6'8 junior Zachariah Belcher is averaging 13 points, 9 rebounds, 4.2 block shots per game, and is shooting 60%. What should you expect from this tournament? A lot of good games. The favorites are Columbia City, Class 2A number 5 Providence, and 2 first-round opponents, Delta and Fort Wayne Southside. Earlier this week, I talked to Muncie Central head coach Justin Ullum and asked him whether he liked these big tournaments.
Yeah, it's fun. We did it last year. Get to play some teams that maybe aren't normally on your schedule or from your area. So that makes it fun. Obviously challenging, but it's challenging for both teams. We're going to run into a pretty strong and veteran and big and physical Columbia City team. And the good news, we're going to, we had that early in the year, in my opinion, with Wapahani and Garin Catholic, just big, strong, physical teams. So I'm anxious to see how far we've come.
Playing a game at noon, that's a whole different experience. What do you tell your team going into that?
Yeah, I think every coach does some similar things. We tell them, we're willing and ready anytime, anywhere. Certainly, that's what you got to get them to believe. But we really have had an interesting schedule. We've played on a Monday night. We've played on a Tuesday night. We've played on a Wednesday night. We've played Friday. We've played Saturday at 5:45 p.m. So just to start the year, our schedule is really not traditional, and this is just another chance, another day, another time. So we got to show up and be ready to go.
Sheridan hosts a one-day, four-team, two-game tournament on Saturday. It starts with 6-1 Sheridan versus 0-8 North White. Sheridan has won 5 straight by a combined 95 points. North White has been outscored by 40 points per game. That game is at noon. It's followed by 3-5 Hagerstown, which lost 2, won 3, then lost 3. But those 3 all were against really good teams: Wapahani, Centerville, and Monroe Central. Fountain Central is 2-4. They are coached by former Westdale head coach Greg Dean. The final round is at 5 o'clock. Both the consolation and championship games. Players to watch: Sheridan has 3. Senior Caleb Wright has been on fire since senior Damon Winston went out 3 games ago. He's been averaging 16 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, and is shooting 43% from behind the 3-point line. Sheridan sophomore Trey Page is averaging 14.9 points, 2.4 rebounds, 2.1 assists, and 1.4 steals. Sheridan junior Devin Hamilton, 13 points per game, 3 assists, 56% field goals. Hagerstown has a couple of really good seniors. Kagan Kendall is averaging 14.6 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 2.9 assists. And senior Anthony Kelly's averaging 13 points, 4.7 assists, and 2.3 steals per game. What you should expect from Sheridan is Sheridan and Hagerstown in the championship game. Sheridan should win, but it won't be a gimme. Now to the Shenandoah Raider Christmas Classic. It's an 8-team, 2-day, 3-game tournament. It starts with 1-5 Rushville versus Class 2A number 15 Shenandoah, which is 5-1. Rushville's only win came by 1 point at Franklin Central. Shenandoah started 5-0 and lost by 6 to Northeastern on Friday. The first game is scheduled for 9 a.m. That'll be followed by 2-5 Greenwood Christian versus 3-3 DeKalb. Greenwood Christian beat Covenant Christian 54-49 in their last game. DeKalb has lost 3 of their last 4 against 3 really good teams. In a game scheduled for noon, Class A number 8 Indianapolis Lutheran takes on a team from Pennsylvania, Greater Latrobe. Lutheran is 1-2. They are only 3 games into their season because their football team won another state championship. They lost their last 2 games by a combined 39 points at Decatur Central and at Ritter. Greater Latrobe is 6-1. They won just 7 games all of last year. And the final first round game, 4-2 Blackford takes on 3-3 Tinley. Blackford lost in overtime against Eastern Hancock to end a 4-game winning streak on Friday. Tinley has lost 3 of their last 4, the last 2 by a combined 58 points. The other one was to a homeschool team. The second round will also be played on Saturday. The Rushville Shenandoah loser and Greenwood Christian DeKalb loser play at 1:30. The Blackford Tinley loser and Lutheran Greater Latrobe loser play at 3:30. The winners from the first game play at 5. The winners from the second game play at 6:30. The final round is all on Saturday. 7th place at 10 a.m., 5th place at noon. The consolation game is at 2, and the championship is at 4 o'clock. Some players to watch at Shenandoah. It starts with Shenandoah junior Aiden Coffey. He's averaging 18.6 points, 2.8 assists, 1.8 steals. He's shooting 55% from the field and 51% from deep. Lutheran senior LJ Ward is a really good one. He's averaging 14 points per game. He averaged 18.9 last year as a junior. Also, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, and 3 assists. Tinley Junior Jet Turner is averaging 19.3 points, 4 assists, and 3 steals. And Tinley Junior Derek Scott is averaging 23 points per game. Blackford Senior Gage Baker averages 17.5 points, 5.5 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and 2.2 steals. And Blackford freshman Mari Leggett is definitely one to watch. Early in his career, he's averaging 15.2 points, 4.8 rebounds, 4 assists, and 2.2 steals. What to expect from the tournament at Shenandoah is a lot of very competitive games and no true favorite. DeKalb, Covenant Christian, Lutheran, Greenwood Christian, and the host Raiders are all about even. A young Blackford team is also an outside contender. And earlier this week, I spoke with Blackford head coach Aaron Daniels about playing in the tournament at Shenandoah.
Yeah, and we really pride ourselves on our preparation. And so when you're playing a game in the afternoon, especially on a doubleheader like that, the first game, not too bad. You get a prep for it and different things, but then we play another one, could be 4:30, right after that. So
Right.
it's a different time. There's not much preparation. And so then, you just got to rely on the kids and we'll be prepared and ready to go. But yeah, you're right. It'll be a lot different.
Anything that you hope to see during that tournament improve, or something that you've done well you want to build on?
What I really want to see, we're so close. We just haven't figured out how to win yet. We have all the talent. We've got really good players, in my opinion. I just want to see us be able to close down, a game or two and take smart shots and be able to recognize game and situation. That's really the one thing we want to continue to grow on. We want to learn how to win a big game and how to put somebody away when you have a 5 or 6 point lead going into the fourth quarter.
To the Lebanon Holiday Tournament, it starts with 4-3 Mooresville versus 8-2 Class A number 10 Metropolitan at 11 a.m. on Friday. It is an 8-team, 2-day, 3-game tournament. After the opener, 6-1 Western, which has won 6 games in a row, takes on 2-6 Perry Meridian, a very deceiving record. They've played a very tough schedule. They've lost 4 games in a row. They're coached by former Mississinewa coach Mark McFarland. Western versus Perry Meridian is at 1. University is 2-4 and has lost 4 games in a row. They take on Evansville North, which is 2-3 and has won 2 of its last 3 games. Their 3 losses have come against teams that are combined 20-7, and they gave Gibson Southern their only loss of the season so far. That game's at 6. Then the host Tigers of Lebanon are 3-3, also a deceiving record. They were competitive with Kokomo and Danville in their last 2 games, both losses. Their other loss came by 8 points to a really good Mount Vernon team. They take on Faith Christian, which is 1-3. That game's at 8 o'clock. The final 2 rounds will be played on Saturday. The Western Perry Meridian winner will take on the Metropolitan Mooresville winner at 10. The losers will also play each other at 10. The other side of the bracket, University, Evansville North, Lebanon, and Faith Christian, those winners and losers will play each other at noon. The final round, it starts at 3:30 with the 7th place and 5th place games. The consolation game will be played at 5:15 on Saturday, with the championship at 7. Some players to watch at Lebanon. Perry Meridian Jr. Bryce Mathis is averaging 20.1 points per game, 3.4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 1.9 steals. Lebanon senior Caden Lark, 17.3 points, 6.2 rebounds, 4 assists, 1.3 steals, and is shooting 51% from the field. University senior Max McComb is averaging 15.8 points, 5.2 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 2.8 steals. Evansville North junior Bryson Chapman, 12.4 points, 6.4 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and 1.2 steals. Mooresville has a couple of really good seniors. AJ Defer is averaging 14 points and 3.7 rebounds. And Brevin Burns, 13.6 points, 6 rebounds, and has made 56% of his three-point attempts. And Western has a couple of players named Biggs. Junior Carter Biggs, 12.9 points, 4.1 rebounds, 1.4 steals, and is shooting 44% from the three-point line. And senior Hudson Biggs, 10.7 points, 5.6 rebounds, 2.6 assists, and is shooting 57% from the field. What should you expect from Lebanon? Well, Lebanon is probably the favorite, but not so much so that 7 of the 8 teams on the field feel like they can win it. One of those teams is the Western Panthers, and I spoke with Western head coach Cam Bennington earlier this week.
Yeah, we're really, really excited about the opportunity that's in front of us to go to Lebanon and play against some really good teams that we don't get to see throughout the rest of the year. And as a player, I loved these kind of events, and as a coach, there's part of me that does too. But the maybe OCD preparation freak in me gets a little nervous. My blood pressure probably gets a little high when I know that we get a couple days to prepare for one team, and then the next 2 games you get a couple hours to prepare for. But
That's right.
at the end of the day, it's still good for the kids, and it's good for us. And we're going to see some really, really good teams at Lebanon. It's a field loaded with talent, with a lot of schools bigger than us, and we're just really excited.
Do you know anything about Perry Meridian?
Yeah, they're a really athletic team. Their record isn't great at 2-6, but the competition they play is probably a little stronger than the competition we play from a standpoint of they got a lot of the Indy suburb schools on their schedule, and teams that they've played night in and night out, and they really get up and down the floor and run. They got a couple guards who are really dynamic in the way that they can get to the rim. They got 4 or 5 guys that can shoot. They play really hard defensively and really get up into you and pressure you and try to turn you over. And, we have our work cut out for us, throw the records out the window and all that kind of stuff. And, forget the games we've played leading up to it. It's going to be a really big test for our guys to go in there on Friday. Sorry.
And on second round, one way or the other, you'll play either Indianapolis Metropolitan or Mooresville, who is coached by a recent Big Ten star.
It's a field that's loaded with talent. And I told the guys when we got back from Hamilton Heights the other night that I was super proud of them. And they've done a lot of really, really good things on the way to the 6-1 start. But our schedule over the next 2 weeks is one that if we're not ready to play every single night, we could very easily be 6-6 really quickly over these next 5 games. We're going to play a Perry Meridian team that's really talented and athletic. Then you got to play either Mooresville team that is really veteran and has a lot of skill, or another super athletic Indy Metropolitan team. And then whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket is going to be really good too.
Yes,
we follow, and then we followed up with playing West Lafayette, who's, our defending sectional champions and probably, the biggest threat to us in terms of who we're probably going to end up seeing in the conference championship at the end of the year. Then you follow that with Lafayette Central Catholic. So,
that's right.
I mean, our next 5 games are ones that we're going to be tested, and it's great because it's great for our kids and great for the young team that we do have, but we got to be ready every single night, and it's going to start Friday and get really real.
Well, and then after that, it goes Taylor, Mechaniqua, Mississinewa.
I didn't even have to stop there, but I stopped at the next 5. But I mean, you can keep going and say, look at Mechaniqua team that's really good, a Taylor team that hasn't been beat, a Mississinewa team that won like 15 games last year,
Clinton Prairie.
And Clinton Prairie is a really good team. Yeah, I mean, our schedule is, we don't have a ton of 4A teams on our schedule, but this 3A and 2A teams on our schedule are really quality. And that's why, I think the other thing that people look at our record from last year at 5-17, what they don't see is the box scores of some of those games and see how competitive we were. Even though we weren't super great last year, and we've gotten a lot better, but that Mississinewa team was really good last year, and we led by double digits in the 4th quarter before getting beat. And Peru went to the semi-state last year. We led with 4 minutes to go in the game. Twin Lakes won 17 games last year, and they beat us on a floater at the buzzer in the sectional and in triple overtime another game. Like, we had a lot of really, really close losses to a lot of really good teams last year. And coming into this year, we're going to play a lot of really good quality teams again. And we're just hoping that we stay on the right side of the win-loss column.
Well, 6-1 heading into this tournament. Just an incredible start. Not just the 6-1, but beating a Twin Lakes team that beat you twice, beating Northwestern, your rival, Frankfurt, a proud program, Tipton, Rossville, Hamilton Heights. Those are all good teams, and Kokomo,
Yeah.
who of course you started with.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we take pride in playing really good teams, and we've been fortunate enough to find a way to win these games early, and that's probably what I'm just most proud of our kids for, is the way that we're winning basketball games right now. And it's not always pretty. It's not like we're out there executing and scoring 70 points a night and doing things perfectly, but we're hungry and we want to win, and our kids are just being gritty and being hungry and playing hard, and just like I said, finding a way to win, and that's something that's really hard to teach.
Now to the East Noble Max Platt Holiday Tournament. It is a one-day tournament on Saturday, 2 games for each team. It starts with 7-1 Garrett, which won just 5 games last year against 1-4 East Noble. Garrett has already won more games than it's won in any season since 2015-16. They haven't had a winning season since 2014. East Noble's only win came in overtime against rival West Noble last Monday. The opening game starts at 11:45. The second game is at 3, and that features Class 4A number 10 Anderson, fresh off a huge win over Pike. The Indians are 5-1 against 1-6 John Glenn, which has lost 5 in a row. Good luck to the Falcons. The championship game and consolation games will both be played at East Noble on Saturday evening. Some players to watch in that one, mostly Anderson players. Senior Damian King is averaging 24.4 points, 7.5 rebounds, 3.2 steals, 2.8 assists. He is a future Division I player. Anderson freshman Don Bowling is averaging 10.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, 2 steals, and is shooting 82% from the field. He is the future of that program. And Anderson senior Javon Winfield, 8.6 points, 4.4 rebounds, 3.4 assists, and 1.8 steals per game. Garrett also has a couple of really good sophomores, the reason that their program is on the rise. Sophomore Isaiah King is averaging 16.6 points per game and 7.5 rebounds. And sophomore Carter Kaufman, 15.9 points, 4.3 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and 2.3 steals. What should you expect from this tournament? A really good first game, then Anderson to win 2 games by a combined 70 points. Now we head to Greenwood, which is a one-day tournament on Saturday. The first round features Triton Central versus Greenwood. Triton Central is 4-3. They are coached by Mark James, who has 619 career wins, 7 sectional championships, and a state championship in 2017 at Ben Davis. Greenwood, the Woodsmen, are 5-3 and have won their last 2 games, including handing Shelbyville its first loss of the season on Tuesday. That tournament starts off at 10. It is followed by 3-4 Yorktown versus 5-1 Columbus East. Yorktown is 3-4 and has lost 4 in a row against 4 really good teams. Columbus East is 5-1. Their only loss, a 59-42 loss to rival North on Friday after a 5-0 start. Their best start since 2006 under Steve Burns, a former Alexandria head coach. The final round is Saturday evening. The consolation game is at 5. The championship's at 7. Some players to watch, and a really good one for Columbus East. 6'4 junior forward Keaton Lawson is averaging 26 points, 11.2 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, 1.2 blocks. He's shooting 61% from the field, 50% from deep, and 84% at the free throw line. Triton Central junior Eli Sago is averaging 16 points, 5.1 rebounds, 2.9 assists, and 1.9 steals. Greenwood senior Isaac O'Neal is averaging 14.8 points, 3.4 rebounds. He's shooting 46% from the field after shooting 56% last year, and 76% at the free throw line. Yorktown is very balanced, but they are led statistically by junior Jabin Barnes, who's averaging 8.1 points, 5.1 rebounds, shooting 63% from the field and 43% from the three-point line. What should you expect in this one is 4 really competitive games with no true favorite. The Morristown Holiday Tournament is also a one-day tournament on Saturday. The first game is at noon, and it features 1-8 Heron against 2-4 Morristown. Heron has lost 7 games in a row, being outscored by 30 points per game. They rank 388 out of 406 teams in the Sagarin ratings across Indiana. Morristown is 2-4. They just ended a 3-game losing streak with a 34-point win over Blue River. The second game is 4-2 Tri Central, which has won 3 straight, versus 1-6 Western Boone, which has lost 5 in a row, but a lot of really competitive losses. That game's scheduled for around 2 o'clock. The final round will be played at 5 and 7, with the consolation first and the championship. Some players to watch in this one: Morristown sophomore Kellen Krim is averaging 16 points, 3.7 rebounds, 3.2 steals, and 2.7 assists. Western Boone sophomore Quinn Westerfield is averaging 12.6 points and 5.6 rebounds. And Tri Central is led by the duo of senior Drake Ramsier and junior center Jay Jankoviak. What should you expect from this tournament? A really good first round game between Tri Central and Western Boone, and a good championship game between Morristown and whichever team wins that first round game. I asked Tri Central head coach Cam Hindman what he knew about his holiday tournament opponents.
Well, what I know about Western Boone is that I think they're very similar to Madison Grant. Yeah, I think they're strong kids. I think they're disciplined kids. I think they've lost some games that they probably should have won, and I think that we're going to need to be able to close the paint down. I think we're going to have to rebound the ball well, and I think it should be a good game. I think between the first game between Morristown and Heron, and then us and Webo, I think I'm gonna assume that us and Webo should be a pretty good matchup to watch, but we're gonna have to be ready. We're gonna have to come back after taking tomorrow and Christmas Day off and have a couple of good practices and take that long drive and be ready to play when we step off the bus.
What's the value of playing in a tournament like this and playing at 2 o'clock and then coming back and playing at 7?
Well, I think the value in any tournament is both. It gives you a little bit of a, especially mid-season, it gives you a little bit of a different goal to meet for that weekend versus your typical Friday and Saturday nights. So you have to prepare a little bit differently. I think it's good because it kind of puts the boys in a position that they're not used to every single day. Monday through Thursday in preparation. So I think that's important, and then I think it's great practice for the sectional, and I'm sure every coach you're talking to is saying the same thing. We did not have a tournament last year. We did go to Morristown, but it was a shootout style. So we played 2 games and came home. But to get back into a tournament over the holidays was really important for us. And Morristown called and said they'd like to turn that into a tournament versus a shootout style day, and we said, heck yeah, we'd love to do that. So I think that's important to put the boys in a little different position than they're used to, and prepare to play tournament games, because those are typically a little different. You're a little more slowed down, a little more half court style, and a lot more defense. And I think that's really important to prepare for the end of the season.
Plus, cool little gym and
It's a
nice
very
place to
cool
play.
gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, if people haven't been there, they really did a nice job when they redid the floor and did a lot of painting and things, and it's really a cool place to play. You definitely know, um, you definitely know it's the Yellow Jackets gym when you walk
That's
into the
right.
place. It's a neat place.
That's right. The place kind of has a yellow glow to it.
Oh, it does.
Yes.
They did a nice job. It looks great.
Now we go to the Edinburgh Holiday Classic, which is an 8-team, 2-day, 3-game tournament. It starts Friday with the Alexandria Tigers against South Decatur. Alexandria is 1-6. They won their first game of the season on Friday in overtime over Eastbrook. South Decatur's being outscored by 17 points per game. Their closest loss this year is 11 points. The tournament starts off with Alexandria versus South Decatur at 10 a.m., followed by 2-5 Austin versus 6-0 Class 2A number 15 Northeastern at noon. 1-3 Union County then plays Edinburgh, which is 2-6 at 2:00. Union County is 1-3. They started 1-3 last year and ended up winning 11 games. Edinburgh's 2-6 and has lost 4 in a row. The final first round game on Friday will be 4:00. The Borden Braves are 4-3. They are coached by the legendary Doc Nash, who led the Braves to 5 sectional championships and the 2013 state championship. They take on 3-5 Victory Prep at 4. The second round will be played on Friday evening at 6 and 8:00, with Alexandria South Decatur winners and loser playing Austin's and Northeastern's winner and loser. Same in the other side of the bracket, Union County Edinburgh loser versus Borden Victory Prep loser. Alexandria will play at 6 either way. The final round will be played on Saturday. The 7th place game at 2, 5th place at 4, consolation at 6, and the championship game at 8. Some players to watch in this one: Northeastern senior Landon Scarrett is averaging 13.7 points. He averaged 14.3 last year. 5 rebounds, 4.8 assists, and 1.8 steals. Northeastern senior Sam White's averaging 13.2 points and 8.5 rebounds. Union County junior Nick Patterson averages 13 points, 4.5 rebounds, and is shooting 50% from the field. And Alexandria sophomore Bryson Eckler is an athletic playmaking point guard. What to expect from this one? Alexandria should finish 3rd or 4th, and Northeastern is a significant favorite. Counting out Doc Nash's Borden Braves would always be a mistake. To the Switzerland County Holiday Classic, it too is an 8-team, 2-day, 3-game tournament. It starts at 9 a.m. Friday and pits 1-4 East Central against 4-1 Hauser. East Central has lost 4 in a row since a 2-point road win at Milan in their season opener. Hauser is ranked number 17 in Class A. They won 18 games last year. The second game, approximately 11 a.m., has 4-4 Hamilton Heights against 4-0 Paoli. Heights went 0-2 last weekend, both games at home. Paoli is outscoring its opponents by 27 points per game. That's a small program that was winning championships even back in the day of single class basketball. 2-3 Cascade takes on the host Switzerland County Pacers at 12:30. Cascade's 2-3. Switzerland County's 4-1. They've won 3 in a row. They won their first sectional 11 years last year. Then the final first round game is at 2:00. 4-3 Tippecanoe Valley takes on 3-4 Trinity Lutheran. Tippecanoe Valley's coached by former Marion, Richmond, and Jeffersonville head coach Joe Luce. They've won 3 of their last 4, including a 58-41 win at Peru on Friday. Trinity Lutheran just ended a 3-game losing streak with a 1-point win at Edinburgh on Saturday. The second round will also be played Friday evening. Hamilton Heights Paoli winners and loser will take on the East Central and Hauser winner and loser, both at 3:30. Then the Cascade Switzerland County loser versus the Tippecanoe Valley Trinity Lutheran loser at 6:30, and the winner of those games will play at 8. Saturday, the final games are at noon, 2, 4, and 6. First will be the 7th place game, then the 5th place game, the consolation game, and then the championship game. Some players to watch at Switzerland County. First of all, Switzerland County senior Cam Craig comes into this game with 1,284 career points. He's averaging 24.4 points after averaging 25 last year as a junior. He's also averaging 9 rebounds. He averaged 9.8 last year. This year, he's also averaging 2.6 assists, 1.4 steals. He's also shooting 54% from the field, 39% from deep, and 93% at the foul line. Tippecanoe Valley Junior forward Stephen Akase averages 14.4 points, 8.7 rebounds. He's shooting 53% from the field, shot 61% last year, 71% as a sophomore, and 80% from the field as a freshman. Trinity Lutheran sophomore point guard Hudson Lang is averaging 16.9 points. He averaged 15 last year as a freshman. 3.6 assists, 2.1 rebounds, and 1.3 steals, while shooting 85% from the field. Hauser Junior striker Gill averages 13.4 points, 7.6 assists, 3.4 rebounds, 2.2 steals. He shoots 56% from the field and 57% from the three-point line. East Central senior Peyton Hofer is averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds. He's shooting 47% from the field. And Hamilton Heights has a pair of seniors. Tyler Champion averages 11.7 points, 3.2 assists, 3.2 rebounds, 2.2 steals. And Gavin Saunders, 18.8 points, 5.5 rebounds, and is shooting 43% from the three-point line. What to expect from Switzerland County is a lot of really good games between a lot of even teams. Paoli, Hauser, Tippecanoe Valley, and Switzerland counties are all about even. Hamilton Heights and Cascade, both capable of winning 3 games in a row. I spoke with Hamilton Heights head coach Cam Ballenger about the challenge that the field at Switzerland County poses.
Oh man, we went last year. We had a blast. We went 2-1 last year. Crystal House beat us in the first game by 6, I believe, but then we won the next 2. We opened with Paoli, a tough opponent that's undefeated. They've had a ton of success. They're big, they're strong, they're physical. They want to pound it inside. They're really going to test us, but that's why we go. There's other places we could go and probably make sure we get a couple of wins, but I want to be battle tested. To a fault, I've overscheduled a lot over the years. Some years we're a lot better than our record, but I just try to prepare us for the tournament. Switzerland County does a great job running the event. So I'm looking forward to going. There's some really good teams. We're going to play East Central or Hauser in the second round. And, Hauser, I think, sitting on 1 loss, and they're averaging like 75 points a game. So it doesn't matter. We're going to play some really good competition of different levels of, size of schools, too.
Delphi hosts a 3-game, 3-day tournament played in 5 different locations. It starts Monday, December 30th, and then is played on Thursday, January 2nd, with the final round on Saturday, January 4th. 2A number 9 Taylor opens against 3-3 Pioneer on Monday, then will face either 3-3 Delphi or 2-4 North Montgomery on Thursday at Delphi. The final round is also in Delphi all day Saturday. The other side of the bracket features 5-3 Rossville, 4-3 Winnemac, 0-7 Frankfort, and 0-7 North Newton. Class 2A number 10 Tipton is at the Clinton Central Invitational next Thursday and Friday, with 5-1 Clinton Prairie, Class A number 6 an unbeaten Carroll, and the host Bulldogs, who are 1-6. It will be played next Thursday evening and Friday evening, and we will have a preview before that one. Please stay tuned for Michelle Garmon's picks for Friday's boys basketball games.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengels.
Welcome back, Michelle. I'm going to ask you again, in case some people only listen to one, the boys or the girls. How was your Christmas?
Hey, it was a quiet one. It was pretty good. I had a touch of something, but it's been good because I have got to spend some time with family a little bit before and a little bit after, and today I spent with I took 2 of my nephews out to dinner. My 2 nephews are also my godsons, and I have 3 nephews, by the way, and the only reason the third one didn't invite him is he and his family live in West Lafayette.
Ah,
So, but anyway, I see them. Actually, I see him and his family more than I see the 2 nephews I took out today. And one of my nephews that I took to dinner today is here for the holidays from Germany, where he's stationed. And then my other one, he lives down here in Carmel, but between his job and mine and everything, we don't get to see each other a whole lot. So it was a nice dinner. I made sure when I hugged him before and after dinner that I turned my face away so I didn't breathe on him.
Good. All right, Michelle, you lead the competition 26-16 thanks to Oak Hill's win over Frankton. And there was another one last week that you got me in overtime. That's right, Blackford and Eastern Hancock. You had Eastern Hancock, I had Blackford. Eastern Hancock won in overtime. Otherwise, the score would be tied 21-21. So you got me there. Otherwise, we're pretty close with the boys' competition. The girls, you've been quite a bit ahead of me. All
Well,
right.
I'm sure that's yeah. There's still a lot of season left. I'm
Yes,
sure
there
that's
are.
going to change.
And just a reminder, we're going to do this every day. So every day that we can. So this is serving as our weekend previews now and everything. So we are going to be making these picks. So right now the score is 26-16. By the end, I'm sure we'll be in the triple digits. We have two just regular old boring games, Michelle. Uh, this one's not boring at all. 2-3 Frankton at 7-0 Wapahani. I say Wapahani by 15. Do you say more or less, or do you take Frankton?
Games at Wapahani. These
Yep.
two schools have had some dogfights. I looked at last year's margin, and I know some players are different and everything, but it's on the road. Wapahani's playing so well. Both programs are well coached. But I think Wapahani is going to. I think it's going to be could be closer to 20. Don't get me wrong. I think Brobson's a heck of a coach, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if it's less than 50. It wouldn't surprise me if it's in single digits.
Right.
I just think coming off the holidays and everything, I just think sometimes the home court is even a little extra.
I actually think it'll be single digits. I put it at 15 for you. I didn't want to make it too easy on you. So, all right. We also have a Hoosier Heartland conference game. 3-3 Eastern is 1-1 in the conference. Taylor is 5-0 overall, 1-0 in the conference, ranked number 9 in Class 2A. And I say Taylor by 19.
I know this is a tough one because these are long time county rivals.
Yes, they
They're
are.
long time. I mean, 'cause they were both members of the MIC.
And if
Um,
and if Colton Lindsay gets hot, this game could be competitive.
yes, it could be competitive. But I also think Taylor's out to prove something, and I do
Mm,
think their defense is good enough. I think it can hamper Colt Lindsay and everything. So I'm
yes.
actually gonna go more.
Yeah. I saw them against Oak Hill, and they did not handle the pressure very well. So, by the way, Taylor has one heck of a trio, and none of them are seniors, by the way.
No,
Alexandria is 1-6. They face 0-6 South Decatur at Edinburgh. I say Alexandria by 12.
okay, Alexandria by 12. Uh,
We know they're better than a 1-6 team.
we know they're better than a 1-6 team. Um, It's funny when I was looking over these games, I was gonna say I couldn't decide. I thought I'd say more, but I actually think I'm gonna say less right now. And I think it's because I think they're South Decatur's hungry for a win. Alexandria has won once, but they haven't been. I don't know that that those kids are understand yet what it takes to close out games real strong. So I think they win, but I think it'll be closer than 12.
All right, Michelle, let me tell you, I watched Alexandria on Friday. Here's what I came away with. Bryson Eckler, with his athleticism and his court vision, is going to be a heck of a playmaker one day at Alexandria, and it might be soon. So I just wanted you to know that he is a
That's
good
fine,
one.
and I also know that the Tigers historically have been a lot better team at home than on the road.
All right, 4-2 Blackford takes on 3-3 Tinley at a very good tournament at Shenandoah. Going to be lots of tests for Blackford at that one, but I say Blackford by 7 in this one.
I know Tinley. Here's the thing: Tinley's been good, and they've not been.
Yes, that's right.
You just don't know.
You just
I'm
don't
gonna
know.
actually say I'm gonna say Blackford by more. I think Blackford has played some good teams, so I think they'll
Yeah.
well prepare. Be prepared. I think Blackford because you having what 7?
Yes.
I think it'll be more. I mean, it might only be 1 point more. It might be 8. You might nail it right on the head with 7.
By the way,
But
that's a good opportunity for me to tell people when I say 7, I mean 7.5. If I say 12, it means 12.5. So if it's more than that, Michelle gets. If it is less than that, I get it. So that's the way that works. So if I get it right on the head, if you say over, you get it. So that's the way that works.
all
Okay.
right.
Otherwise, that's an unfair advantage to me. We don't want that. We want it to be as fair as possible when I beat you.
Okay.
Okay. So Michelle says more 6-1 Western versus 2-6 Perry Meridian. That's at Lebanon, another good field. Western, of course, has won 6 games in a row since opening with a loss to Kokomo, and I say Western by 8 in this one.
Western by more than 8. I mean,
Yeah.
Cam's got that group playing very well. They're just so well coached and they execute the game plan so well. I think that's what impresses me about Western and his kids is he's very even keeled as a coach, communicates well, and the kids listen and they respond, but they just execute his game plan so well. And that's what coaches want. They love it when kids go out and follow the game plan and the scouting report. And so far, Western has done that very well.
And he said, Coach Bennington told me he likes when we pick against them, but we're not going to do it this time. We can
I'm
only
sure
do
I
it.
gave them lots of fuel for the fire last week.
Yes, we'll do it when it's credible. I don't think this one we can credibly pick against Western. So
No.
that I'm not going to do that. By the way, some good tests in that tournament for them down the road. Second round is Mooresville or Metropolitan. Then in the final round, looks like Evansville North or Lebanon has a pretty good team. They played Marion pretty well earlier this year, so um, I think that's a pretty good Lebanon team as well. Anyway. 4-4 Hamilton Heights versus 4-0 Paoli. That's at Switzerland County. And I have Paoli by 9.
Gosh, this is this is tough because I think this is possibly about the time that maybe Coach Ballenger thought they would start to, they might get a couple players back. That said, you can get them back, but and they won't usually make impacts, but sometimes it takes a little bit longer to make that impact. So
Yes.
I will actually say you get 9. I'm actually going to say higher. 10 to 12 is what I think, and I think Paley will win 10 to 12. But I
By the
do think
way, when you integrate players, it usually takes a good 2 weeks to get the chemistry right.
yeah.
That's the way I think. That's the way I've always seen it. All right, 6-1 South, very good one at 6-1 Delta in a very good Delta tournament. Delta by 5 is my pick.
Um, and this is Fort Wayne South, right?
Yes,
I'm
the
actually, I'm
Archers.
huh?
The
Yeah,
Archers.
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna help you out here because I'm gonna take South, and here's why. I think Delta has won some close ones, and don't get me wrong. I mean, I think being able to win close games is huge, but they've also kind of let leads slip away and then pull them back, and I just think sometimes that can come back to bite you a little bit. And I think Southside is they're going to be you know maybe I think they're maybe athletic like Muncie Central, but more experienced and maybe just a little bit better. So I'll take Southside.
You'll take Southside.
I'll take
Wow.
Southside.
Shout out to Elbert Starks, one of my mentors at the Fort Wayne News Sentinel, who was himself an archer.
All right.
Muncie Central is 1-5. They are also in the Delta tournament. They play against 5-1 Columbia City. That very tough schedule for Muncie Central to start the season continues. I say Columbia City by 14.
More. Columbia City by more. Columbia City's pretty good.
Yes, they are.
In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they win that tournament, even whether South pulls off and beats up Delta at home, and I know that's tough to do, but I wouldn't be surprised at all. Columbia City's the tournament champion.
All right, then our final game at the Phil Cox Memorial Invitational, a great field, always a fun event there. 4-3 New Haven at 4-2 Kokomo. I say Kokomo by 13.
Higher. I think Kokomo. I'll tell you what. I think they're gonna. I think they're angry.
Yes.
They've lost back-to-back games. Granted, that's to quality opponents.
Yes.
One
Oh,
and I mean,
absolutely.
really two rivals because Carmel's a bit of a rival with Kokomo, developed here
Sure.
recently. But so I think they're angry, and I think they're ready to prove that.
And
Hey,
you know what? That game, you don't want to make excuses, and you don't. But
no,
clearly didn't have it on Saturday against Carmel. Clearly, Carmel is not a 36-point better team than Kokomo.
right.
So I
Those two
think we.
teams those two teams meet in the tournament down the road. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Kokomo would win a tournament game.
I'm right there with you. But also, Marion was our team of the week, and they completely deserve that because not only did they win that game at Kokomo in overtime, they bounced back like it was nothing and beat Huntington North the next night and played kind of the same way. So incredible weekend for Anderson, or for Marion. Anderson too, by the way, beat Pike. Big win for them. Thanks to Michelle for doing that every day for us. Always appreciate it. She's the best. Thanks also to Mississinewa head coach Josh Brooks, Oak Hill head coach Kevin Renbarger, Muncie Central head coach Justin Ullum, Blackford head coach Aaron Daniels, Western head coach Cam Bennington, Tri Central head coach Cam Hindman, and Hamilton Heights head coach Chad Ballenger for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report and making it, I just gotta say it, the best podcast in the history of the world. And thank you for listening. We always appreciate it. Please go like, subscribe, or follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. And please, I know that you've been thinking of a person or two who would love the Central Indiana Sports Report and you have not yet told them about it. Please do that right now. I demand thee. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and also, I love Susie.